Cafe racer was, or CAFs as they call them in the UK. Without the transport cafes, there wouldn't have been a cafe racer movement.
A lot of places, a lot of pubs don't let you in because you wear a leather jacket and it looks a bit rough. And they don't want, I think it associates with trouble. It doesn't, but it's an old adage. I
think quite simply, really, the cafe's sort of the iconography of it, what it represents, and a particular hit period in its history, starting in the 50s, it came to represent youth, rebellion and speed.
You'll find that out in these cafes, like the Ace, Busy Bee, Johnson's, all these cafes where they congregate, they'll just tear from place to place as fast as the thing will carry you.
This was one of the most famous cats for run-bys, and having a race down to the roundabout. The roundabout is right down that way, probably about 2 miles. You had no chance of getting back before any records finished, but the main thing was to go down there flat out to the roundabout and race with 2 or 3 of your friends and hope you come back in one piece.
We always seem to end up there in the same place because it's interest, everyone gathers there, you see. It's not the place, it's the company.
It's great to see that some of the cafes are still in existence. I mean, Johnson's up in the 820 is gone. You know, the famous Busy Bee has been taken down for generations, but all of a sudden you see people still going to these places. It's a connection with a part of Britain's biking history that doesn't exist anymore. So it's great to see.
Around here, they're friendly. It's good food and it's cheap. And you get a good set of friends turn up and we all just sit and chat.
It's a good meeting place. You can come any time, you know, get a decent cup of tea, something to eat, and normally there's a lot of like-minded bikes here. Just you can check out different people's bikes basically.
I think the existing cafes have had to sort of reinvent themselves. The Ace Cafe is like a tourist attraction. They have t-shirts, they have events 4 times a day, 20 times a week, everything from VW owners clubs to Triumph Night. Same thing with Squires. They're kind of conscious of their place in history with motorcycling. They sell patches, they sell t-shirts, they have events there all the time. And I think they needed to do that to survive.
Squires has been open since the 50s, it's never closed. It was originally in the village of Sherburn, and then 2003 it was sold. It was getting too small for the hundreds and hundreds of bikers that were coming there, you know. There were that many, they had to close the village off.
Sunday afternoon, all the bikes that come, just somewhere to go, somewhere gathering. And the guy then took over this, it was a disused bar, and turned it into a venue like it is now. There's always something happening. Big car parks, plenty of room for the bikes, good fun.
Well, they're the heart and soul of the business, really. Yeah, that's what we need is motorcycles, because that's where they meet, come here to meet.
They seem to be closing down a little bit, but there are some real good key core ones. This one particular, you've got the Ace Caf down in London, so you can still find them, and the bikers, they tend to know whereabouts they are.
It's simply a fortune of fate that the Ace didn't get demolished with road widening or some such. Many such places did, just vanished.
Well, we're on the A20 in South London, and this was a famous motorcycle caf, Johnson's caf, which was still in use up to about 15 years ago.
The transport cafs, I mean, they're good for us during the weekends when we're riding, but during the week they've got to survive literally on the lorries and the transport network, and that's tough at the moment, you know, with transport companies, you know, getting closed. So, you know, we can make their business survive on a Wednesday night or a Sunday morning, but it's the rest of the 7 days.
Well, I think time just moves on. We all chase nostalgia. I mean, it's great that the Ace Caf got their thing going again over there, and I think South London's probably crying out for the same thing. But you've got to have the venue, and you've got to have the money to put behind it. And Ace Caf had the right venue. The name was still there, and it worked. You know, that's what it's all about, really. They disappeared. You just move on, and you look back, and they always look better places. Really, it was a load of grease and oil and everything else in there, but everyone looks back, what a great caf, you know, that's how it is.
lot of people, especially Americans, completely understand the history, the rich history of the 59 Club. I mean, they created a place, a haven for cafe racers at a time when they couldn't be served in pubs. A lot of transport cafes wouldn't even serve you on a motorcycle wearing black leather. So to show people the history is very important.
The club had been started by another priest called John Oates, and it was a big club just as young people were beginning to earn a bit of money in England.
And along came this vicar, Father Bill Shergold, who realised that the thousands of kids, the length and breadth of England, who were riding bikes, visiting cafes, they weren't members of any clubs. They didn't have an identity per se at all.
The big thing about the club was we didn't have any rules. At first we didn't have any membership payment. The total income came from sales of badges and a bit of profit on the canteen.
People had said to him, well, it's all very well, you know, having the club and the boys that you know, but the lads that really I think you ought to go down and get is the boys that hang about in the Ace, the B and Chelsea Bridge, because there'd have been a slightly different breed, turned by the adult population as complete rebels.
You only went up the bridge if you was a hooligan or if you was up for a fight. It had a bad reputation. You didn't go there.
Being a motorcyclist, Bill went to the Ace after some trepidation.
And chickened out of it when he got there and rode past and then thought, no you fool, go back. And went in and sat down and people came and talked to him, leather jacket and a dog collar.
He invited them to his church and thereafter to come along to the youth club as it was then, 59 Club. The kids responded to that and all of a sudden there it existed, this identity, and you could wear it on your sleeve, and thousands of youngsters joined this club.
When I went there for the first time, I just felt like I was home. These were lads but I just instantly sort of recognised and sort of bonded with.
It was almost like similar to a brotherhood, you know. We were part of the 59 Club, and if a 59 Club person needed help, needed a bit of support, everybody was there for them.
But it had everything. You'd go in there and get bacon sandwich, tea, there'd be bands upstairs, and when they were all dancing upstairs, there was like an iron column in the middle of this hall, which used to leave the floor and bounce up and down with all the dancing upstairs, you know.
It was all part of going out on a Saturday night. You went to the 59, you went to a rock and roll dance there, you jumped on the bikes afterwards, you roared as fast as you could possibly drive down to Chelsea Bridge, you had a cup of tea down there and went home about 4 o'clock in the morning. That was, you know, that was an average Saturday really. So.
But that was the philosophy behind it all. We were just there and encouraging them just to be themselves in an atmosphere where they were totally accepted, and as a result we never had a single fight in the club until the first Hells Angels came.
When you met Father Bill and Graham, they are gentlemen. They talk to you about how things are going. They do not ram religion down your throat, we've got to do this, we must do this. But what they are, they're a person that you can feel extremely comfortable with. Some of the lads may have had problems, and you can go to them and talk to them in confidence.
Without Father Graham's intervention personally in my life, I'd be alive maybe, but I'd definitely be a different kind of person.
He made a difference,
I'd have been definitely put in nick, and that would have taken me down a different path. I know that for sure. So from a 59 Club point of view, and Father Graham, he was a massive influence in my life.
We never started talking religion, but we wore dog collars most of the time, if not pretty well all the time. And inevitably people asked us, because a lot of people couldn't understand why a vicar should be interested in bikes.
The church rather looked down on it, you know, that he, you know, he's doing stuff for kids, you know, but no, that's not the way it should have been, you know, he should have been poked by now, for what he's done, you know.
He was like he was a modern day Robin Hood. He was doing good everywhere he went, but he weren't saying nothing to nobody, and nobody knew, you know. It was like everybody, it's one of them things like everybody sort of, with Graham, you know, we all liked him, we all respected him, and that's a big word, respect. You can't buy it, you have to earn it.
Obviously we're older, we've all got responsibilities. You know, we've grown up somewhat, which is a bit boring. But I still go to Chelsea Bridge ever so often, take the same ride round London and end up back at Chelsea Bridge having a cup of tea, but the pies are much better now.
I don't believe in regrets, but I would love to be young and doing it again.
Leather jacket, I wanted a British bike, but first and foremost, I wanted to go fast. The club that came to represent the iconography of speed, black leather jacket and rock and roll was this club and its badge, the 59. And then you learn that the club is a church charity.
We always said that we would close it when it ceased to fulfill its purpose, because at the beginning it was to give fellowship and support to these people who felt a bit lonely and felt cut off from society. Now they're not. In fact, the club didn't die, and as you know, it still exists.
Every single person that's joined this club that says they're a club member is in that filing cabinet. Once you've been given a club number, that is your number forever. Your club card is your bit of passport, that's your bit of history. And I think that's quite unique. And hopefully that's the thing that will keep people coming to the club.
Internationally, it's growing, I think, because that mystique is becoming more widespread. Through the internet, through magazine articles, people see that the 59 Club is still alive.
I wouldn't wear the patch or the badge until I actually joined here and attended meetings and been to the clubhouse. I mean, a lot of guys in the U.S., they wear them, you can get them off of eBay, to each his own. But for me, if I was going to represent and wear the patch, I had to attend some events.
When I was 17 and 18 and running about with me winkle pickers and me drainpipe shoes and a quiff, I did have hair in them days, I couldn't have imagined being here when I'm 60. But I am, and so are a load of my mates.
I mean, amazingly enough, they haven't really changed at all. I mean, when I first used to come down the club, we used to come up here, we would reminisce about all the rides we went on, and we'd have a cup of tea, you know, and we'd sit down and we'd meet our friends, and then go for a ride afterwards. I suppose the only thing that's changed really is that as we've got older, we've got a lot faster in the old days than we were, actually, and you know, the stories have got a lot faster, not the people.
We haven't just been here for 5 years and then not been down the club for 35, and then we're talking to you about what it was like. We've been here for an enormous amount of time.
The club, the social part of the club has not changed at all, because it's always had that it's just a social club. It's not about what bike you own or what, you know, what accessory you've got on it. It's really about, you know, just getting together with guys who enjoy the calf races and this sort of scene, and just really just being together with like-minded people.
Turbo Tim. This is a Honda CX650 Turbo. 1983 was the original donor bike. Since then I've modified it to look like a Norton Cafe Racer. It goes back to my teenage years really, when I used to ride cafe racers. I used to have a Norton framed Gold Star. I've always liked the shape of them really. I do drag racing on it with the National Association of Super Twins. The Cafe Racer parts I put on mainly are the ace bars, the headlamp, which is an original Lucas headlamp off say a BSA or Norton. It's got a Norton Commando front mudguard, a Manx Norton patterned aluminium tank. The exhaust off a Rocket Gold BSA Rocket Gold Star silencers. Make a nice sound really. The good thing about these, this has got twice the power of the most highly tuned Triton you could make. And it's double the power, so.
Terry Bartlett. I call it a McCandless Special. It's a Suzuki GSX 1500 engine in a Norton featherbed frame. I came down here with thoughts of doing a Triton, and there was two blokes down there with GSXR engines in some featherbeds, and it sort of just got the ball rolling. Dave's even done a lot of the machining and engineering side of it, so as a tribute to him, I painted it in his racing colours when he raced in the 60s. He put the frame in the engine, in the frame, sorry, mounted the front end, one off swinging arm, supplied the tank and the seat, and the oil tank, which is actually the battery box.
My name's Dave Watkins Jones. I live in Poole in Dorset. Just an incredible bloke. Known as the Crampton Classic, unfortunately it's just a one-off. It was built as the prototype for a limited production run in the year 2000. I purchased it directly from the designer and builder, who's a guy by the name of Ian Cramp, who at the time was working with Triumph in 2001 at the NEC bike show in Birmingham. He got his first batch of orders together for 25 motors, went back to Triumph, and Triumph then refused to supply the engines for the build. The idea behind the build was to keep weight to absolute minimum, hence the girder fork layout with rising link suspension both front and back. These forks are actually 2/3 of the weight of ordinary tele forks, so there was a massive weight saving on this design. The seat is actually a 7R, copy of the AJ 7R, and the tank, just classic Norton and as tight as could be fitted to the top of the airbox directly underneath here. Motor's Triumph 1999 speed triple 955i motor, the first one that Ian fitted. Before it's even stopped, you get people stopping and looking, and creates a crowd. Sure creates a crowd, yeah.
My name's Mark Warrener, Manx Norton with a Vincent engine. Black and chrome. Sit there, the grin factor, you get a burble off it that just money can't buy, and the grin factor, it's good as gold. My dad bought it back the year I was born. It's got an engine, a frame and a front hub. Spent 11 years chasing about parts. He done most of the work originally. I rebuilt it 3 years ago. Modern sports bikes are perform faster. They're obviously better handling, but I wouldn't trade this for the world. Wouldn't have one. Where it's been reduced in weight, it's been increased because I put loads of stainless fittings, all my rocker caps, bits and pieces, mainly for show purposes.
Rockers may love fast motorcycles, but nothing represents the image of a cafe racer as much as a leather jacket. Inspired by World War II pilot's garb, the black leather jacket, decorated with the rocker's favorite imagery, is as important to the cafe racer as a t-shirt, jeans, and rock and roll.
I don't know what it was about it really. It's just maybe the black colours. It was different, and it gives you, if you was wearing a leather jacket, you was considered a rebel. And that just appealed to me like nothing else.
It's always been the mark of the outsider. I think even in the 30s and 40s, it was looked upon as being the outsider.
Because of the leather gear, as soon as you pull up on a motorcycle, they come out the door. You can't stop here, mate.
and Lewis Leathers was probably the main outlet that provided leather outfitting and the image, really, synonymous with sort of rockers and ton-up boys.
London's Lewis Leathers started off manufacturing flight suits for aviators and overcoats for car drivers in the 1920s. But outfitting bikers is its main goal today.
People like Lewis Leathers because it's been in the British psyche, particularly for motorcyclists, for the last 60 or 70 years. So what I thought was new to was invented by the rockers in the 50s and 60s actually goes further back, and you could buy things, you know, accoutrements for your motorcycle and your jacket, which had this sort of flirtation of death and being a bad boy.
After World War II, Britain was still rationing food and fuel, and new clothes were scarce. Riding gear was even harder to come by, but the ton-up boys knew where to look.
The cheapest way to go and get kind of weatherproof warm clothing would be to go to an army surplus store. There was nothing actually there to clothe young riders at the time, so they thought, well, let's dress up like Spitfire pilots instead.
Motorcycle jackets today may be safer and made with modern materials, but Lewis Leathers' Bronx jacket has never gone out of style.
It was the first jacket that we made targeted at a young teenage audience, motorcyclists, but was also sold to rock and roll fans as well. It was billed as a new and exciting jacket, but examining the old catalogues, etc., and the old pieces of clothing in the archive, you can actually see it's actually just part of a lineage. They just dusted down old patterns, give them a bit of a tweak and a few more pockets, some epaulettes maybe, and you've got a new item.
And it's not just rockers who dig the unique style of a well-made leather jacket. The Lewis label has been the choice of everyone from motorcycle racers to rock stars and those in the know.
Worn by a lot of great famous riders, such as Mike Hailwood, Giacomo Agostini, Phil Reed, and the list goes on and on. We've also clothed the British rockers from the 50s right through to modern day. The 59 Club, quite notably. And also a lot of musicians. We've had John Lennon, McCartney, The Clash, the Sex Pistols, Iggy Pop, so on and so forth, all wearing Lewis Leathers over the years. The leather jacket seems to have stayed with us even through the modern advances that have been made with Gore-Tex and Kevlar jackets. And I think the main thing that people like about a jacket is if it's a well-tailored jacket, it looks great. You know, you're part of the tradition of motorcycling. It's timeless.
Cafe Racer is going to be one hell of a ride.